Hey guys, welcome to Redneck Off the Range. Today I want to talk about tractor maintenance. Now, not everybody who owns a tractor is going to want to get their hands dirty and do their own repairs and their own oil changes and things like that. I get that. Some people just prefer to take their tractors to the dealer to have them do it for them. And that's fine. But there are a few things that you should do regardless of if you're the type of person to do everything yourself or to take it to the dealer. And I want to go through those few maintenance tasks today. The first one is greasing. You're always going to want to keep fresh grease in your tractor, especially in the loader, if you have a loader. Or the same thing applies to your implements, like your brush hogs and your rotary tillers and things like that. So you want to keep everything greased good so that nothing seizes up and wears out prematurely. So if you look in your manual, and this is probably true for any tractor, whether it's a John Deere, a Kubota, or a Branson like this one, if you look in your manual, you're probably going to see that it says to grease your loader every 8 to 10 hours. Now, this tractor has about 7 hours on it right now, and I haven't greased it yet. So I'm going to grease it today, and what I'm going to use is this Makita battery-powered 18-volt grease gun. Just picked this up, and so far it seems to work pretty good. So let's just go around and hit all of the grease fittings here. Got to get one of those lock and lube things. But just put it on the grease fitting and then hit it a few times until grease comes out. Now after you grease it, you're going to want to take a paper towel and go through all your grease fittings and wipe them up just to keep down on the mess. There's another one here. And just go through all of them. Now typically a loader is going to have like 16 or so grease fittings, but 8 on each side. And you just want to keep them nice and greased. By the way, if anybody's wondering what kind of grease I'm using, I'm just using some multi-purpose grease that I get from work. I think it's just called Bobcat multi-purpose grease. It comes in a red tube, and the grease itself is green, like that. So that's the kind of grease I use. It's not the cheapest, but it's pretty good grease, I think. You know, they use it on skid steers. So anyway, just want to make sure that all your grease fittings on your loader are greased about every 10 hours. Like I said, I got 7-ish hours on this machine. I mean, really, I don't think you can over-grease a machine. I mean, yeah, it'll spew out, but I think more grease is better than not enough grease because, again, things will wear out prematurely, and you don't want that to happen because it's just going to cost you more money in the long run. So always make sure that your loader is greased, and also other parts on your tractor that have grease fittings, but those typically don't need to be greased quite as often as your loader and also your implements and things like that. The next thing you're going to want to do periodically is check your lug nut torque. Now, you wouldn't believe how many stories I've seen online of people and they're driving along in the field and their wheel just comes off, or they get off their tractor and they realize, oh crap, half of my lug studs are gone. That's because they didn't check their lug nut torque every so often. Now, I don't necessarily know how often you should check it, but every once in a while just check it and you'll prevent that from happening. So I took a picture of the manual here, and of course, being made in Korea, they don't give you foot-pounds on their little chart. They give you Newton meters and whatever this other unit of measure is. Now on my torque wrench, I have this other measurement, which I've actually never heard of before, kgs, although on here it says kgf.m. I don't really know what that is. I've never heard of this unit of measure before. But if this is the same as that, then that brings it out to about 130 foot-pounds or pound-feet of torque, however you want to word that. So that's what I'm going with. I don't know if that's 100% right. By the way, it gives you a range. So as long as you're within that range, you should be good. But really, you're just wanting to make sure that they're tight. So you're going to want to take your torque wrench and just go around and check and see how tight your lug nuts are. See, like that one there? It was a little bit loose. And just go around to all 4 tires and make sure that all the lug nuts are torqued to the right specifications. Speaking of torque, another thing you're going to want to make sure is nice and tight are these bolts that hold your loader in. Now, it's probably not easy to see from that angle, but there are bolts, you know, just follow where your loader meets the frame and you'll figure out where all the bolts are. But I'm not really sure how tight these are supposed to be. I don't think I read that in the manual, but I just kind of put the torque wrench at 100, and if it's at least 100 foot-pounds tight, then it should be good. I mean, it's not going to be loose anyway, I'll put it that way. So I just gonna check these, and that one's tight. I can't exactly reach all of these with the pedals right here. So that one's at least 100. Oh, yeah, I don't have a thing big enough for that one, but you just want to make sure that your loader bolts are nice and tight, because the last thing you want is to be out in the field working with your loader and all of a sudden one side just pops off. I've seen stories like that too. So you want to make sure these bolts are nice and tight. Like I said, these 2 of them on here aren't exactly easy to get to. I might be able to get to them with like a crescent wrench from up top or something, but with this I can't exactly get to it. And with these lower bolts here, I don't have a socket big enough, so I have to figure out what size it is and see if I can get those, see if I can get a socket for those and make sure that those are also tight as well. I'm sure they're fine if they're as tight as these ones down here. Another thing you're going to want to do periodically is check your tire pressure. Now, the manual doesn't actually give you PSI, it gives you kilograms per cubic centimeter, and I don't have any internet here to actually do that conversion, and my my air pressure gauge does not give me kilograms per cubic centimeter, so I'm going to have to do that next time I'm out here. But the importance of checking your tire pressure is, if your tire pressure is too low, your rims could actually spin in the tire, and you can also pop a tire off a rim, so you don't want that to happen. But other things you're going to want to check is, of course, your oil, which is over here, and it's really dark in here, so I'm going to have to get a flashlight or something to actually see where to stick this thing. And the oil looks pretty good. Not sure how well you can see that on camera, but it does. It is full, so that's good. You're also going to want to check your hydraulic fluid level. Now, on this tractor, there's a little dipstick back here. Some tractors have a little sight glass that you can look in, but we just have a little dipstick right here, and I know that hydraulic fluid can be kind of hard to see, but there is fluid on the dipstick, so it should be pretty good. I'll check it next time where hopefully there's some better lighting out here, but for now it seems pretty good. And of course, if it's low, there's also a fill spot right behind where the dipstick is. So some other things you're going to want to check periodically are things like your air filters, your radiator, make sure the radiator screen is cleaned out, check your coolant levels, things like that. We're not going to do that today, but we will do that at some point, maybe after I put a few more hours on it. But just a few other things that you might want to check out for is we've already checked, most of the bolts. Of course, you could also check the bolts on, say, your grill guard and things like that. But you also just want to go around and make sure that all your pins are where they're supposed to be, and see, make sure that you didn't snag a pin on a branch or something and it went flying off in the woods somewhere or in the field and you have to replace it. So just want to check some pins like your loader pins. I've seen people lose the whole entire loader pin. Now this one is held in by Lynch Pins. So looks like that Lynch pin is there. You want to check all the Lynch pins on your 3-point linkage. Make sure you didn't lose any of these other pins, your stabilizer pins, things like that, your box blade pins. And we're just going to go around and check the other side of the loader as well. And the big pin is there, and the Lynch pin is also there. So it looks like all the pins are where they're supposed to be. All the bolts that I checked anyway are good and tight. And that's really all I can do today. I mean, I greased the loader, I checked the oil, the hydraulic fluid, everything seems good. So I think we're good. And like I said, probably next time or maybe in a couple weeks, I'll check the air filters, things like that. I just haven't really operated this tractor a whole lot in dusty conditions. It's only got 7 hours on it so far, but these are just the things you're going to want to check periodically before disaster strikes and you have to buy a whole new loader or buy a whole new axle or tie rods or something because you popped a wheel off of the tractor. So you're just gonna want to do these things periodically. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say that there's a set increment, not necessarily every time you hop on your tractor or every day or whatever, but maybe every few times that you operate your tractor, maybe every 10 hours, especially for the loader, maybe for your lug nuts every 20 hours. I don't know, it really just depends on you and your own situation, but you definitely don't want to ignore these maintenance items. You definitely want to stay on top of it before you spend thousands of dollars on a repair that could have been prevented. So anyway, that's all for this video. Subscribe to my channel, and until next time, be safe.